tonight's Wales at 6. Jailed for 14 years, Miles Cross sold suicide chemicals online that two people used to take their own lives. Plus, lower drink-drive limits and eye tests for older drivers. That's the UK government's plan to make roads safer. But does it go far enough? Also on the programme. Hundreds without water and schools shut after a main bursts in Cardiff.
And with weather warnings approaching for much of Wales, I've spent the day with the gritters as they get ready for Gerretti.
Hello, good evening. First tonight, a man from Wrexham has been jailed for 14 years after he sold chemicals online to assist suicide. 33-year-old Miles Cross sold the chemical for £100 to vulnerable people in an online forum, which led to 2 deaths. The prosecution at Mold Crown Court is believed to be the first of its kind in the UK, and that's where our reporter Joanne Gallagher is for us now. Joanne, what more did we learn about Cross's crimes in court today?
Well, we heard that this is a very unusual but worrying case, one, thankfully, that we do not hear of very often. What Cross was doing was sitting at home in his flat in Wrexham and using his laptop to go on a forum where people were online in the darkest thoughts of their lives, and he was doing this and communicating with them to try and make some money, which is what the judge here at Mold Crown Court said earlier today. Now, Cross did plead guilty here in November and he was back here today to be sentenced. Miles Cross arriving in Mold Crown Court today with a hold-all, packed for prison. This unusual case garnered much media attention, unwanted by Cross, who can be seen pushing reporters out of the way. Cross was in court today knowing that 2 people died from the 4 chemical sales that he made. He ran this operation like a business, but police were soon onto him. Police, wearing masks for their own safety, raid the Wrexham home of an unsuspecting Miles Cross.
Is there anyone else in the address?
No.
No, just you?
No.
He's cuffed, and as officers carry out a thorough search, finding chemicals and other paraphernalia, he knows the game is up.
8:06, okay. At this time you're under arrest on suspicion of complicity in encouraging or assisting suicide, okay?
North Wales Police knew Cross was speaking to desperate people online. He'd been flagged to them by another force investigating a suicide in their area. Following his arrest, officers had to find out who else he'd been talking to and who could be in danger.
Tell me the names of anybody who might have access to these chemicals.
I can't do that. How would I be able to do that?
Cross was using a suicide forum from his laptop. He communicated with those in anguish and set up a business to sell a chemical substance to be used for suicide. He charged £100 a time. In a statement voiced by someone else, one victim said Cross targeted people like her.
Because this person made it so easily available makes me think they preyed on vulnerable people like me. Although he does not know me and may not fully understand the impact of his actions, the substance he advertised, sold and sent me could have ended my life and seriously impacted on my family.
Neither North Wales Police or the Crown Prosecution Service have investigated or brought charges against a specific case like this before.
Anybody doing this, somebody like Miles Cross, is doing it at an arm's length, and therefore the people don't really know who he is. He's using a pseudonym, and it's only good police work that's managed to track him down and link him to all of these offences.
Cross was a calculated predator. He continued to sell this drug online even when he knew one woman had ended her life.
As Cross preyed on his victims online and exploited them in their most desperate moments, profiting off their vulnerability and mental well-being. Instead of assisting them to seek support, he encouraged them to end their lives and provided them with the means to do so.
Many people struggling go online looking for help, but it comes with a warning from mental health charities.
So the online world is lots of things, and obviously there is some useful advice if you search online for advice about if you're struggling or difficulties with your mental health, but there's also lots of problematic information online.
Tonight, Miles Cross is behind bars, driven away to start a 14-year prison sentence. Cross had no reaction when Judge Rhys Frowlands handed down the sentence here in Courtroom 1 at Mould Crown Court. He stared straight ahead, but Judge Rhys Frowlands said that he hoped this sentence would be a warning to others. Now, there are strict reporting restrictions around the naming of people who bought this substance and who took it from Cross, but we did hear some victim statements read out in court today, including one from the wife of a man who took his own life. She said she was devastated by what had happened and her life will never be the same again. Now, we have spoken to mental health charities who say anyone who is suffering, there is help out there for anyone who needs it.
OK, Joanne Gallagher at Mould Crown Court. Thank you very much indeed. And as Joanne was saying, if you or someone you know has been impacted by the issue raised, please visit itv.com/helplines. Holyhead Port has been reopened after a berthing incident forced ferry cancellations this afternoon. Stena Line ports confirmed their Estrid vessel had sustained damage to its hull, but sailing schedules would resume from 5:30 this afternoon. The closure comes almost exactly a year after Storm Dara caused damage to the port, leading to the halting of sailings for weeks, causing severe disruption. Lower drink-drive limits and compulsory eye tests for older drivers. Those are some of the changes announced today by the UK government's new road safety strategy. They hope these changes will help reduce serious injuries on our roads by 65% by 2035. But campaigners say it's a missed opportunity and they're disappointed by the lack of restrictions on new drivers. Kate Lewis has our report.
Memories of his youngest son fill David's family home. At just 18, Joe, along with two of his best friends, died after the car they were travelling in crashed. A decade on, David tells me the family are still struggling to come to terms with their loss.
It's hard. It's really difficult. We got fantastic memories of Joe. So we could talk about him all day.
Today, the UK government announced it's considering introducing a minimum learner period for drivers, something which David says has been a long time coming.
10 years overdue for our family. But say, how many times do you drive past scenes where there's flowers, teddy bears, people gathering around? You know, shortly after our boys passed away, another two died just down the road in the January.
In 2023, Crystal Owen's son Harvey was killed in a car crash in North Wales. She's been campaigning tirelessly for change and says she feels the government is missing a golden opportunity by not introducing restrictions on passenger numbers for young drivers.
I'm disappointed that the government has failed to include the single most effective protection of young people worldwide that's been proven for decades, and that is the peer age passenger element. So, you know, we've all been there, we've all been young, and as soon as, you know, you get the keys to that car, the peer pressure from other people makes a newly qualified young driver 4 times more likely to crash.
The government's plans aims to cut road deaths and serious injury by 65% by 2035. So I've come here to Caerphilly to ask people, do they welcome these proposals and do they go far enough? One main focus is the mandatory eyesight testing for drivers over the age of 70. Here, not everyone saw eye to eye.
Mixed feelings. I hate the thought of not being able to drive, but equally I don't think it's right that people should be driving if they can't pass the eyesight test.
I have them every year, without a doubt.
Would you welcome this as law?
Yeah, they interfere too much in people's business.
It's a good thing.
Why do you think that?
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of people now after 70 years old. Our eyesight is failing down, so to avoid some accident.
Another proposal is to lower the drink-drive limit to bring it in line with Scotland, under which a pint like this would take you over the limit. So as they enjoyed their lunchtime tipple today, I asked this group what they thought.
Don't worry me. I don't drink and drive anyway.
It should be zero.
So
no drink, no. If you drink, you don't drive. As simple as that.
While some rural pubs have concerns this may be another blow to business, here they aren't so sure.
I don't think it will make a scrap of difference, really. I think people are going to drink, they're going to drink.
What happens here when groups of people come in?
You do have a designated driver.
Do you think it has become part of our culture?
I think so, yeah.
All of these proposals will mean a shift in our culture, but with the ultimate aim of saving lives. Kate Lewis, ITV News.
Hundreds have been left with little or no water because of a burst pipe in Cardiff. People living in Ely, Llandaff and St Fagans have been affected and 8 schools have been forced to close. Well, our correspondent Richard Morgan is outside one of those schools for us tonight. Richard, what's the latest you have?
Well, another part of Wales, John, and another disrupted start to the school term. This time a burst water main is to blame. The incident happened in Rada, just a few miles to the west of where I'm currently standing. Mobile phone footage showed water gushing from a burst water pipe. And the upshot of that is, as you say, thousands of homes without water and 8 schools in Cardiff forced to shut their doors. Now, one of those schools is behind me, Ysgol Gyfun Plasmawr. Although the schools say there was a small cohort of pupils here today to sit an external exam. Now, Welsh Water say that they hope to have this incident resolved by this evening. They say they have teams working at pace behind the scenes to restore supplies to customers as soon as possible, and that they were using a number of water tankers today to maintain supplies. And now, of course, this comes at the end of a spell of freezing weather, and it is known that water pipe bursts can occur in a thaw. Welsh Water are advising households to make sure water taps, external water taps, are turned off and external water pipes are protected by lagging. John.
Richard Morgan in Cardiff, thanks very much indeed. Still to come, gritters are preparing as Storm Gerretti approaches. Stick with us for the forecast.
And after a fairly quiet day of weather today, stormy conditions are on their way. Join me later for all the details.
But first, a baby bank in Taffswell that helps people in need with items for children says they've run out of clothes for newborn babies. Cwtch Baby Bank have nearly 60 families needing bundles for newborns expected in the next 2 months, but are worried they won't be able to meet demand. Well, Megan Boot is there for us now. Megan.
Thanks, John. Yes, welcome to this unit in Taffswell. This charity began in just a few people's homes, and look how it's grown. It gives you a sense of the size of need there is out there. So let's get to it. When you are preparing a bundle for some newborns, talk us through what families can expect to get from you.
OK, we have a Moses basket. We fill that with at least a week's worth of baby grows, vests, outfits, as well as other things like hats and bibs and other things. So
and then you've also got the bath as well, yeah.
And this has toiletries for mother and baby.
Yeah.
We give out a bouncy chair, a bouncer, and then we've also got a box of 0 to 3 clothes.
Brilliant.
At least a week's supply of that as well.
Right, I'll let you crack on. Okay. So as well as helping babies, it helps children up to the age of 2. Now, this has been going for nearly a decade. It's helped in that time more than 6,500 families. And the person who started it up was Hilary. Hilary, welcome to Wales at 6. Why did you want to start this charity?
Well, I'd fostered for 20 years babies from birth through adoption, and when I retired from that, I had loads of baby equipment, baby clothes, wasn't sure quite what to do with it. Looked online, loads of baby banks in England, but sadly lacking in Wales. So we decided to set one up.
And the rest is history. Well, as John said right at the start of this, the reason we're here tonight is there's a certain age group where they've got some clothing need. Alison, tell us more, please.
Well, we get our referrals from trusted partners who are health visitors, midwives, maybe housing associations.
Yeah.
And already for January, we've had 39 requests for newborn baby bundles, what Ivan's been making.
Yeah.
So what we really, as you can see, the boxes are absolutely empty.
They were actually empty this
well,
morning.
Yes,
It's all
we've
gone
had,
up just
we've
from
had
today.
a few now,
Yeah.
so that's really helpful. Yes, so that's what we put out the appeal.
But you need hundreds of items for those boxes. If people want to help, what can they do?
Well, they can look on our website, they can email us, they can arrange a drop-off time with Claire. They can also go on our Amazon wish list. They can even do some fundraising events. Our local golf club, the ladies at Whitchurch, raised over £3,500 for us in a year. So,
Alison,
you know,
thank you very much. I have to
welcome.
leave it there. So as you can hear, it's a huge group of, 12 volunteers with a huge effort making this, support from lots of people. But the idea really is to make sure that every child in Wales gets a safe start.
Let's hope those calls are answered. Megan Booth, thanks very much indeed. Next tonight, all eyes remain on Welsh rugby this week as more clubs are backing calls for a vote of no confidence in the WRU chair Richard Collier-Keywood. As our sports reporter Matt Southcombe explained to us on Monday, a certain threshold needs to be reached before an urgent meeting is held. And as you can see, Matt is with me again now. How close are we to that all-important threshold?
Well, John, the support of 29 clubs is needed to trigger an EGM where that vote of no confidence in Richard Collier-Keywood would be tabled. There has been talk that that's already been met, but sources I've spoken to today have said, who are very close to the situation, who have said that's not the case. Formally, the threshold has not yet been passed, but it is expected to be met with ease. As things currently stand, not every club in Wales has yet received the paperwork that they would need to even show their support for these calls for an EGM. That paperwork is expected to be distributed in the next 24 hours. Now, all it takes is 29 clubs to call this meeting, but the Central Glamorgan Union, who are at the heart of this, may decide to hold off even if they pass that threshold, because a meeting requires an attendance of 95 clubs for the votes at that meeting to be valid, and over half of the clubs in attendance would have to support a vote of no confidence in Collier-Keywood for it to pass. So I'd expect the Central Glamorgan Rugby Union to wait until they're confident that they've got those numbers in the bag before serving notice to the Welsh Rugby Union to trigger the process. We're not at that point tonight, but in the coming days, we could be.
Okay. Interesting times, Matt. Thanks very much indeed. Still to come on the ITV Evening News.
Coming up on the programme, the United States says its forces have seized a Russia-linked oil tanker, having tracked it across the Atlantic. On social media, the US-European Command said the merchant vessel was seized for violations of US sanctions. Scotland's schools are closed for a third day as Storm Gerretti looms. Amber weather warnings are in place across parts of the country for tomorrow. And sheep on a shopping spree in this supermarket in Bavaria. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, a record number of people contacted Alzheimer Society's dementia support line over the festive season, with almost 5,000 callers looking for support. The charity has created a new running club of 10 people across the UK, all with a connection to dementia, who aim to raise money for the support service. One of those in the club is Jane Buckles from near Abergavenny. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's more than a decade ago, and our reporter Hamish Auskerry has been to meet her.
Jane Buckles doesn't let much get in the way of her enjoying the beautiful Monmouthshire countryside. It's a twist of fate then that it was an ankle injury that eventually led her to getting a diagnosis for dementia when she was still in her 50s.
As the doctor wrote the X-ray referral form, he said the magic words, anything else. And it just poured out. And I was very fortunate because he understood what I was saying and referred me to the memory service. So when I had the diagnosis, it was relief, because it was a relief that I was only at the beginning of the dementia, and the chances were the drugs would work for me. I gave it the best chance, and that I knew what I was facing. Diagnosis is the key to the door.
Jane is now part of a special run club created by Alzheimer Society. Alongside 9 others from the 4 corners of the UK, Jane hopes to be able to take on the Great North Run later this year. The money they raise will help keep the charity's dementia support service going, which saw a 16% increase over Christmas compared to the previous year.
So far, we're only a week into January, but we've seen that call volume continue. And people call for lots of reasons, but mainly over the holiday period, we find that they're spending more time with loved ones, particularly able to notice changes in behaviour, changes in patterns of memory recall, and therefore want to ask questions about that. And also people who are supporting people who already have a dementia diagnosis. Making sure you're doing the right thing is a big part of being a carer and wanting to do the best for your loved one.
Alzheimer Society says people who exercise regularly may be up to 20% less likely to develop dementia. But even as her symptoms develop, Jane hopes to keep walking and running for as long as she can.
I can still navigate. When that goes, I won't be able to go out on my own, but I can still navigate, so I'm safe to be out there. And then I will have to put that to bed. If I get to a point where I can't do something, I sort of file it, and then I celebrate what I can still do, so that I don't dwell on that. I might dwell on it a little bit at the start, but that's something I used to do, and I used to enjoy it, and I used to do it. So I can still think about it in a pleasurable way without getting cross about it. And I'll move on to something I can do.
Exercise continues to help Jane live well alongside her dementia symptoms. And through charity fundraising, she's now also helping to support a vital service so that others can too. Hamish Alskerry, ITV News, near Abergavenny.
Amazing, Jane. It's already been a busy week for gritting teams across the country, as you can imagine, and it could be set to get even worse as the first named storm of the year looks set to hit Wales tomorrow evening. Storm Gerretti will bring heavy snow, rain and wind to much of Wales, and an amber weather warning for snow is in place across 13 local authorities. Our national correspondent Rob Osborne has been out with the team in Rhondda Cynon today to find out how they are preparing.
Well, there we are. The salt is being moved around here at the depot in Mountain Ash as they get ready for Storm Gerretti. It's quite a remarkable job they got going on here. It's a 24-hour operation. I've got a few stats. They unload 80 tons of salt, and there are 25 trucks out and about in Rhondda Cynon over the next few hours, with over 100 staff working on it. And this is just one council area. It's happening across Wales as people get ready for what might be coming with Storm Gerretti. So these are some of the trucks that will be out and about in the next few hours, making sure the roads are safe to use. Let's talk to Andrew Morgan, leader of Rhondda Cynon Council. Busy period.
Yeah, crews have been out quite a bit over the last few days in the evenings, treating the main road, but obviously the last few days refilling salt bins where residents have been using them, and now preparing for Thursday night into Friday.
Yeah, what have you been told? Are you having meetings? You having updates?
Yeah, there was a meeting held this morning. I attended with senior officers, and as it stands, the weather forecast is very mixed. I'm sure we'll get further updates in the next 24 hours, but it's a mixture of rain coming in. It's going to turn to snow. They're talking about potentially heavy snow. Certainly at the tops of the valleys is forecast. It could stay as rain. Possibly that'll be a good thing. But certainly if it does come, as they suggest, in heavy snow, upwards of 6, 8, maybe 10 inches of snow. So our crews are now refilling the depots with salt. All our fleet will be out. We've got extra contractors and tractors coming in. So there's a significant plan in place for now for tomorrow night.
And the roads are one thing, but one thing about the other services, things like schools, what should people do?
In particular, I would think on Friday morning is the time for people to look at the website. Schools are individually responsible for updating the website, whether they're going to stay closed or open. If it is widespread snow, which is currently forecast, then I would expect quite a significant number of schools to be closed, if not all of them. But again, check the website. We're liaising with schools today, asking they make those decisions early on Friday morning, so parents will know. Certainly we're out gritting around schools, trying to do as much because of the black ice, etc.
Well, Andrew, thanks for joining us, and send our thanks to everyone here who's working hard to keep the roads clear. And of course, the key thing is to keep an eye on that forecast. As I said, you hope for the best but plan for the worst.
Well, let's do just that with Amanda Houston.
Midday Mayan temples, followed by sunny afternoons on the sand. TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
Hello again, hope you're all keeping well. So after a fairly quiet day of weather, things are looking a lot livelier as we go through the next few days. So we are expecting spells of rain to arrive as we go through Thursday. Some of that could be heavy in places and then turn into sleet and snow for some, especially as we go through tomorrow night. And those winds will also be strengthening too. Now the reason for it, Storm Gerretti, as you can see here, which has been named by Meteo France, is working its way towards us. That's going to bring a spell of fairly wet weather for a time across many southern parts, as you can see there. And as it collides with the colder air later on, turn into sleet and snow in places. And you can see the squeeze and the isobars too. It is going to be very windy for a time, especially throughout tomorrow evening. More about that in a moment. In the meantime, for the rest of tonight, well, still 1 or 2 showers around, but for most of us overnight, it will be largely dry out there with a mix of clear skies, a few pockets of mist and even some hill fog in places too. But for most of us, those temperatures should be staying above freezing, but it certainly will be a mixed start to the day on Thursday morning. A little bit gloomy out there to begin with, but we'll hopefully see a few bright spells for a time. But you can see as the day progresses, we've got that rain working its way towards us. As I say, could be turning a little bit wintry during the afternoon. It's mainly as we go into tomorrow evening, we'll see some more significant snowfall in places. And temperatures there during the day up to around 6 degrees. Now, as I say, it's as we go through Thursday night and into Friday, you can see this system tracking its way across us, turn into sleet and snow in places and some very windy conditions for a time too. So we do actually have an amber weather warning in force as we go through tomorrow night and into the early part of Friday. Some of that snow could be heavy, especially across more eastern areas. There is the risk of some disruptions, so do be prepared for that. Now, the good news is that once that system moves out of the way, things become a little bit quieter, but it is staying fairly cold as we go through the next few days. And of course, there will be some widespread frost and some icy patches to deal with too. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
Well, another night of wrapping up warm then. Richard Morgan will be back with your late update after the ITV News at 10. But from now, from all the team, until tomorrow, thanks for watching.